Jai Ganesh. This is kind of impromptu. Jyoti has gone to Chicago with her daughter. She's gone to spend time with family, and then there's going to be a lot of travel coming up. So we will, put some streaming on wherever we are. So I want to welcome all of you on Ganesh's birthday. And if you have any questions, comments, insights, please type on YouTube, and Kurt can read them out. But I do want to call out people who have subscribed to on Patreon. And people are still trying to, some people are trying to understand what it's about. So it's okay, I'm wearing a Disco Ganesh t-shirt. This is like the tail end of Ganesh's birthday. And, there's a lot of festivities in India. I'm going to get into Ganesh mythology, some unique way to look at symbolisms. Try to bring the mythology in today's times, because the mythology is kind of, it shakes up your certainty. And I know, Peter, the word certainty is not a good word, right, for you?
It's not a concept I believe in.
Yes. So come on in. So certainty, so when you have a mythology, it can be a little unsettling because it can shake up your certainty, because there are different ways to interpret the mythology. And some Western academicians have gotten into trouble, such as Paul Courtwright or Wendy Doniger. They've interpreted the Ganesh mythology as part of an Oedipal complex, the whole Oedipus. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to get into trouble. But I'm going to view the Ganesh mythology in a very unique way in today's times, because, come on in. What use is the teachings if it's not valid today, And thank you for not bending over. Enzo, come on in. Prego. Prego, come on in. Yeah, today for you and Peter. Not for people, not for civilians. No, you're not being filmed.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good. I know you're famous. You don't want to be.
I want my friends to be quiet.
I know. They think you're a part of a cult or something, So that's another thing, the name Ganesh, Gana, is like, different sort of groups of people, Gana. So it's like a tribe. And they're usually like pretty weird, a lot of them, like misfits from society. I know I became a hippie like 20 years ago. So I'm one of the Ganas. Shiva has a whole posse called Ganas. So there's a story on how Ganesha became the leader of Ganas. So we are all Ganas in a way. We are all like different, right? But we still get together and do something in common, right? So that's the goal here. But before we get into all this, I do want to give a shout out to all the patrons who've been supporting us. We just literally started this a month and a half ago, and Kurt's really been heading this whole effort. And I don't know where it's going, but it sounds good, because there's about 32 patrons who've already subscribed. We're putting out a lot of content. There's at least 35-40 videos out there, and a lot of meditations. We're going to do a lot more live streaming, when I go to events, when we do practices with the deities. Jyoti's 2 lectures. She has meditations that accompany the philosophy. So the emphasis is on regular communication in this digital ashram. So the people who contribute, I want to just acknowledge them. I know some of you may not want to be, but it's okay, right? We're part of one community. So let me see if I can. Yeah, here we go. So today's my friends Joe and Bob from Vermont, Manchester, Vermont, subscribe. Thank you, Joe and Bob. Grateful. And then also yesterday, I believe, Rick from Burlington, Vermont, the home of Bernie Sanders, he subscribed. You remember Rick, right, Peter? He was at a retreat. You know, he hung around a lot with Julia. Rick and Julia right here. Hey, Rick, thank you. And my man Govind Das or Shane Freeman from St. Louis. I always get confused between St. Louis and Kansas City. But it's all the same to me out there, whenever Middle America. But Govindas is really a person with a big heart, and I know he's a big supporter. So thank you, Govindas. And then we have a millennial, Malini Iyer, Dr. Malini Iyer from Los Angeles. Love millennial energy. We can learn. You guys are the future. And then my friends Brian Witt and Elizabeth Witt from Grand Junction, Colorado. They are putting out a festival in a month for suicide awareness. Grand Junction has the highest rates of suicide in America, and really horrible statistics amongst young teenagers. And so this is their second yoga festival to help. All the proceeds go to suicide awareness related organizations. And Kurt and I are going to be there. But Brian and Elizabeth also, if I may say, have a wicked sense of humor. I think it's probably because they're both from Kentucky originally. And I went to Kentucky when I came to America in '84. So they just sent me a card recently, like a few days ago. And it's like a belated birthday card. Maybe I'll view it as a birthday card to Ganesh. Because I said a story, I don't know if you remember, Peter, about, blowing the conch shell. You blow the conch shell, Krishna blew the conch shell, and there's another mythology where Ganesh blows the conch shell. The conch shell is to blow whenever you want to correct an imbalance in the world. So when there's a war, before the war, you blow the conch shell. So everybody has their own conch shell. So like a good yogi, I tried to get my own conch shell in Delhi. I was there in March. And I go to this place and, I blow the conch shell to try it. And a huge sound came, but from my ass. Yeah? So obviously there was an imbalance in my belly. So these guys, they've heard the story. So they, Brian and Elizabeth from Grand Junction, Colorado, they're saying, you're not old if you can still blow out all your birthday candles. And then without farting. Yeah? And then, or blowing your conch shell. So, oh well, happy birthday anyways from Brian and Elizabeth. Pleasure. Always a pleasure to trade jokes with you. I joke with them. They are the founders of goat yoga. You familiar with goat yoga? You do yoga and baby goats jump on you, It's America. Everything goes. So we always kid each other about that. The other people I want to acknowledge is, and if I don't sort of say any personal anecdote about you, we're still in love with each other. Please understand that. And then we have Julia Morgan, good friend of ours. Is it the Julia from Encinitas, or is it the Julia from Oregon? I think it's a Julia from Oregon.
I think so too.
You think so, Kurt? Hey, Julia. I know you changed. You got a better promotion. I'm still waiting on your call about the Ganesh. The big-ass Ganesh you want to get with your partner. So Julia, thanks for your support. Bless you, Enzo. And then Michael Sutter, who's online from Colorado. He came to a workshop. Come on and welcome. Oh, that's Kurt's boy, Warwick. As you know, is Mr. Hanuman, right? The kid Hanuman. And there's a difference. The Hanuman Prasad, like all the Prasad sweets you get, like Ganesh is all like sweet. Whereas Hanuman Prasad is like vada. It's like salty. So the only prasad of Hanuman is salty, which is interesting, And then we have Rupa Bojraj from Los Angeles area, I believe. Another young Indian American millennial. Thank you, Rupa. She's been to our retreats couple times, not this time. And then we have Lara Nelson, who I believe is from San Diego, La Mesa. Thank you, Lara, for your support. You've been here a couple times. And then Beth Murray, my good friend, who I believe lives in Oregon. She was from Vegas for a while. And then, of course, Jacqueline, my buddy Jacqueline, who is a designated sound tester. Jacqueline, if there's a quality problem, somebody complains, I'm going to refer them to you. Okay. And then we have Christina Enneking from the Bay Area. She's really, the person who got this whole teaching started 6 years ago. So Christina was responsible for getting this community together and having our first retreat. And we ended up doing in the church in La Jolla. And that happened to be Christina's birthday. And the code number to get into the church was exactly her birthday date. Another beautiful synchronicity. So you'll probably meet Christina in January. Our January retreat is announced. Well, I'm announcing right now. It's on January 16th through the 19th, Martin Luther King Day's weekend. The usual $108 with lunch and the bomb chai and the snacks. And the title is going to be Dopamine and Dharma. It's really about how do you view relationships through the lens of Hindu-Buddhist deities. So we have relationships with everyone, right? Friend, teacher, student, significant other, partner, parent, child, enemy, boss, co-workers. How do you view these relationships from the mythology? How does it still apply in today's times? That's why I titled Dopamine and Dharma. So it's the second title is how do you view Hanuman's bhakti as a means for self-realization? And it's very profound and deep, and Jyoti will dig deep into that. So as usual, it's mythology and Vedanta, but applied more to relationships and bhakti. So just January 16 to 19. Christina, please come this time. Again, your birthday time. Raquel Bono from Tennessee, Nashville, grateful for your support. We will see you at your teacher training in December, I believe. I'm coming there. So will Kurt. So we'll see. And then I have Mira Devi, I believe from Colorado, Jocelyn, Evelyn Falkent, Beth Bazvaje, and Beth, I believe we spoke quite a bit at Shakti. Thanks for your support with the Lakshmi Murti. And I believe you're an RN. I hope to see you at a retreat soon. Beth, please come next time. I still fondly remember our conversation. Rich Green from North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Rich and Udaya, dear friends of mine. Jai Ram, Jai Shri Ram. David Gravina, I believe now in San Diego, maybe going to Florida, but really a great student of Vedanta. Thank you, David, for your support. Becky Hernandez, recently mom of one cute pair of twins. And then, and say hello to your husband. I hope, he's moved on from Solar. I know he was in Solar. And then Betty, yes, from Los Angeles. Jai Ganesh, Betty. Deep connection. You were at a retreat last month. Christine Gran, beautiful Christine, full of heart with your partner, Michael, right? Michael, I believe. Christine, also you should meet Beth. She's an RN too. Both of you are RNs, nurses with a heart. Not like others, nurses don't have a heart, but these are special. When you fall sick, you go to emergency. Enzo, you go to Christine. I'll tell you. Just text me when you're in an emergency. Okay. And then I have Lola Rose, dear friend Lola, who I believe is traveling soon. She's from Boston. But I don't want to get her started on Tom Brady. She loves Tom Brady, but not entirely everything about the team. But Lola, love her free spirit. Thank you for your support. Walter Hayden, he was here last time, last Friday. He lives in a forest near the Pasadena area. A true yogi, and really embraced Vedanta. Thank you for helping with the Murtis last Friday. Big heart. Lorinda Reem, my good friend from San Diego. I hope to see you soon. It was nice running into you in the Self-Realization Fellowship service. Rhonda from Albuquerque, I love your comments. Thank you for your support with Murtis. Thanks for your presence. You were at Lori's workshop. And then Ellen Young, thank you for your support. And then we have our daughter Janita, she's part of our support. And of course, Jyoti and I also are on Patreon. So, Jai Ganesh. Ganesh mythology, okay? So the myths are important because they're still relevant today. It's called mythotherapy, okay? Mythotherapy is a real field. And Ganesh, the mythology, there's a birthday everyone celebrates. And I go to a meetup and an atheist guy asks me, what is the exact, when was he born? So that's the thing of time, in this mythology, time is not like linear, it is circular. So there's even a story where Shiva and Parvati got married, and Ganesh comes later in the mythology, but they prayed to Ganesha at the wedding because Ganesha is for good luck. So how do you explain that? Because the concept of time is circular, and the ancients knew that. The ancients, everything is like day, night, or seasons, sun, everything is circular. So one shouldn't take the myth literally, take it symbolically and apply it in your life. So there's no like a starting date. There is no first. There is no end either. It's a circle. Okay? And the whole bloody thing is an illusion anyway. So why get into all that? Okay? The Ganesh is also very similar to Janus. In the Roman tradition, Janus was worshipped as threshold or new beginnings. And Janus was shown with, in Rome, that's your tradition, Enzo. There's a temple with two faces. So when you see a murti of Janus, two faces, and there's a temple with east and west gates. And Janus was worshipped at transitions, threshold events. And Ganesh is worshipped as threshold events. So Ganesh, Janus, the names are similar. And Janus was in the anus, Lord of the anus, inside us, as an archetype. And Ganesh is in our root chakra, which is near the anus. Root chakra is in between the anus and the sex organ. So Ganesh and Janus are very similar, both are. But the thing is, Ganesh is still around, whereas very few people worship Janus or Isis or Athena. They are like emeritus, retired. You familiar with emeritus? I know you're from Italy. Emeritus, yeah, like a professor who's like retired but still kind of hangs on, right? And that leads me, when we get old, we want to be sort of relevant. Now I'm 57, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully it's not a train coming towards me, yeah. But I can understand the emeritus professors, they want to be relevant. When we get older, we want to be seen and heard. But when it comes to these archetypes, very few people work with, Isis or Athena, the Egyptian archetypes, or Roman, and many reasons for that. Many reasons, But the Ganesh one is still worshipped. It's worshipped all over the world today. That's his birthday. So there's a reason. These mythology are like public dreams. They are collective dreams of humanity. That's what Jung called the collective unconscious. And the thing is, everyone adds to that. The thing, we might be adding to it right now. Anyone who kind of, we're a group of people here, when we sort of contemplate and add, we're adding to the collective mythology. Because guess what? This is on YouTube. 5 years from now, a dude in Russia will watch this and get influence. There's some power here. Something is going on. So we're adding to the mythology. But here's how we take it in our life. So these mythology are like public dreams. But our individual hopes and aspirations and dreams are like private mythology. So we each have a private mythology, and then we have a public mythology. So your private mythology, for instance, might be going through a job transition. But then the public mythology says, in your hero's journey, do you just want to keep doing stuff for yourself? Right? There's a larger, greater good. So the public mythology is Hanuman. Hanuman teaches us it's not about ourselves, right? It's about expanding and gathering, making a difference without ego. So you don't put out a social media post saying and do virtue signaling saying I'm helping the environment. No, you do it quietly. Hanuman doesn't do social media, right? So we can use this public mythology and harmonize it with private myths. And that can apply to relationships. Relationships is a big, big deal. That's why I want to do a whole January retreat on relationships called Dopamine and Dharma. How do you view relationships through Hindu Buddhist deities? Carl Jung had a quotation which was never directly attributed to him. He said, you show me a sane person and I can cure him. In other words, everyone has some issue or the other. And it's always about relationship. The relationship can be to the self. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself. Maybe you're eating unhealthy. Maybe you're not, you're eating junk food of the mind. Today, junk food of the mind is a big deal. We're inundated with so much information. We go nuts. Okay, we don't have deep attention on anything. And here I am doing my 1 hour, 2 hour YouTube videos. I don't know how many people will end up watching, because in today's times, deep attention is a real currency. So we have all these relationships. How do we use these mythology to achieve better harmony? So when it comes to Jung, we have, in general, on our hero's journey, couple of different kinds of shadows. One is perhaps a restless mind. A lot of young people have that. There's a lot of anxiety. The anxiety is a lot. I can vouch for that. I meet a lot of young people in my travels. There's way too much anxiety. Even when they're doing well, be it money or relationships, there's anxiety. It is just the world as the anxiety has increased, despite technology and mindfulness and everything, right? Mindfulness, Enzo? Mindfulness is Hinduism stripped for export. Mindfulness is Hinduism stripped for export. So they take away the spirituality and make it an app. There's no juice. It's all about hack. It's about productivity. Mind hack. No, that's misappropriation. It has to be, in my opinion, the whole thing. Bhakti. You ask what is Bhakti? Is devotion to something bigger. It can be consciousness, it can be God, it can be secular humanism, it can be the environment, but you also work with yourself in the first place. Okay, so you're grounded. So the anxiety which can be replaced by groundedness is Ganesh. Okay, so this Ganesh, the lower part of Ganesh is really the groundedness. We talked about it, right? So the mouse is his vehicle, right? But it represents our mind, the anxiety. And last live stream, I talked about the mouse as originally a demon called Gajamukha Asura. Gaja means elephant face. And then the Ganesh vanquishes the demon and he makes him his disciple. So the word disciple and discipline go hand in hand. Discipline is important, and that's Krishna Radha. That's love. That's devotion. So here is love without any strings attached. Isn't that amazing? It's almost like an umbilical cord going between the two. Sorry, I had to bring that up, Kurt. That's Kurt and Warwick. Okay, so the mouse is the anxious mind. Ganesh calms the mind. That's how obstacles are removed. The other thing he does is he teaches us, life has to be about integrating the material world and the spiritual world. You have to, to get that balance is really, I feel on the journey, it's important. That's why the leg on the ground, leg up, right? Leg on the ground is be grounded, don't quit your day job, but then leg up means have a connection to something bigger, the spirituality. So it's straddling both. So Ganesh, the lower part is literally the bottom of the Abraham Maslow pyramid, right? The hierarchy of needs, where we want success, right? We want the education, we want the groundedness, we want the apartment or the house. Maybe we can be minimalistic, but we want some material needs. We want a relationship. That's important too. Okay, we want to be seen and heard. That's a big one in the Abraham Maslow. So that's the lower part. Then there's another aspect to Ganesh where he vanquishes a demon. What it represents is we become like too lustful when it's out of control, the lust. Okay. Also, when we how do I phrase it? When we have too much sort of greed, when we don't know enough is enough. The problem in this world, be it climate change or anything, is there's no enoughness, right? There's always a next quarter where the company is supposed to make more. So that's a kind of a demon, and that demon is called Alasasura, the fire demon, and Ganesh has an axe. So this is the Ganesh which is like a warrior Ganesh. So this is Ganesh who is sitting on the ground. Here, this is Ganesh who grounds you and says, chill. But when you're too chilled out, when you are, procrastinating, when you're like a deer in the headlights, and people get stuck, they are like, get stuck in a cesspool and not be in the flowing river of life, then you can work with this Ganesh, is a warrior Ganesh, where he throws the axe, that's the axe, at the demon Alasasura to do it for the highest dharma. Okay, do your next phase of your life, not get stuck. Okay, not get paralyzed. So this is a very good one, the warrior Ganesh. I call him Ganesh with an attitude, right? Toot Ganesh, because he looks to the side, all Ganeshas are straight up, and he does this right hand, the Abhaya Mudra, and he says, talk to the hand. He's literally got an attitude. So when you're too stuck, when you're like doing a lot of excessive self-analysis and get into analysis paralysis, he says, hey, bring it up, the warrior. Get off your butt, get going, and talk to the hand. So an elephant, when it takes a while figuring it out, but when it figures out, it goes for it. It just kind of plumps, right? And the elephant is not black or white, it's gray. It's comfortable with gray of life. Okay? And it's decisive. It's decisive because what happens is you live it literally in the moment. Part of flow state, and Ganesh is the threshold to the flow state in between alpha and theta, where your brain waves are 8 to 12 hertz. That's your brain waves. It's slowed down. It's in between waking and dreaming. Ganesh head, when you work with Ganesh, the elephant head represents that entrance to the deep sleep. That's the flow. So an you can bring out the elephant in your subconscious and live through that, where the prefrontal cortex, which is the mouse, shuts down, the active part of the mind. Okay? And you live through the elephant. That's a flow state. It's paradoxical, but you live from the subconscious. Okay, so Ganesh is the threshold for the flow state, and the belly also represents an ability to literally flow with everyone you meet. The problem right now in the world is too much tribalism. Everyone has an opinion about something because of social media. And there's three things we're not supposed to discuss: religion, politics, and nutrition. Right? Can I crack a bad joke?
You just did.
Okay. I was going to crack another joke, but I'm going to hold back. Yeah. Well, how do you know if someone is, take your cult? Because there are diet cults right now.
Republicanism.
So how do you know someone is from that cult? You don't have to. They will tell you. Right? So you can apply it to anyone, right? So the belly means you can digest different viewpoints. It's okay, because as I said, you don't have to agree with them, but can you still flow with them without agreeing with them? That's the key. Okay, I think to me that's a big part of being in the flow. You don't want to be with your own tribe, because that is then you're watching your own Truman Show all the time. With all this, YouTube, they're manipulating you. Similarly, your own tribe, they are reinforcing your silo, right? Yes. You want to be, I feel, open to all experiences, eat a lot. So understand different people's point of view. In my opinion, people get hung up with their point of view too much, Even in spirituality, there's Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, non-dual philosophy, there's Bhakti, there's Tantra, there's also Charvaka, which is atheism in Hindu. But Charvaka is like the closest philosophy in Western is called philosophical skepticism. Socrates was similar, very close to that, where you kind of flow with everyone, but still question. You're not a blind. So that's philosophical skepticism, Charvaka. So you have all these different philosophies, even in Hindu tradition. But here I come to America and people are very, I feel, locked in. This is my way.
Lori has a question.
Yes.
She asks, Ganesh is living from the subconscious. Is this meaning he is living in awareness of what is contained within the subconscious, flowing with it without identifying with any of it?
Love it. Yes. Lori gets it. They realize the awareness is the basis of everything. So Jung called it the self, the collective unconscious, or awareness. And the subconscious is a layer above that. But can you live your life with different people and not get triggered? Not let it stick to you? Can you live your life as a cosmic Teflon? I'll give you an example. You were there, I think, Peter. I went to a meetup 2 weeks ago. It was in San Diego called Philosophical Minds. Remember?
Ocean.
Yeah, Ocean, your favorite guy. And I walk in late. Remember I walked in late, and you remember I mentioned that to your meetup. And it was a busy restaurant and there was no waitress or waiter. And a guy walks up from the table to me and says, "Where's my food?" He asked me, "Where's my food?" I said, I was like a little bewildered. And then he said, "Oh, you're not the waiter?" I said, "I can be if you pay me money." You remember that? And then my good friend Aaron, a good secular Jew, who was part of our made-up, he got kind of angry. He said, "The only reason he told you this is you have brown skin." Right? But look, that guy is operating from his subconscious, his patterning. Why should I get triggered? Right? That's him, right? The point is everyone gets too triggered in today's times. And I'll give another example. Joe and Bob, who just joined our Patreon today, they have a wonderful studio in Manchester, Vermont. Plush, it's like a ski resort town. And they are avid skiers and cross-country and heavy into hiking. They bring, I hope you still bring groups to Utah. I know you bring yoga. So in the guise of yoga teacher training, people are having a blast, They have all this yoga retreats, skiing. Don't do skiing and yoga, I wouldn't recommend it. But right next to the studio is a very fancy hotel. You know that, right, Joe? Across the street. And I go to the hotel. In between my break, I'm wearing my usual t-shirt, and a guy in a fancy dress suit, and the hotel's expensive, like $500 a night, I'm guessing. He yells at me, not in a nice way. He said, "Jose, carry my bags." And I did. And he paid me like $100 tip. So here I am doing like cultural misappropriation. Right? The point is, the subconscious in all of us, if you connect the subconscious, and that's where Lori is going, to the awareness, to consciousness, that's the oneness. It's the same oneness that unites me with the guy in the restaurant or the guy in the hotel. But if you live from that unity, right? So we can live as a melting pot, or we can live as a salad bowl, right? We're all different. Me and the guy in a suit, we're all different. And some of us are broccoli, that's okay. But underneath, we're all the melting pot. If you can recognize both, can you have an ability to see both? So that's where they link to the conscious world from the subconscious and the awareness. The awareness is really the unity, but the subconscious is closest to that. So it's really about applying these teachings in our day-to-day life. Okay, it's a great question, Lori. So the mythology of Ganesh is, I want to talk a little bit about the birth of Ganesh. Okay, because it's like Shiva and Shakti, right? They are like always the couple who are like, almost like a peekaboo relationships. Because Shiva is a handsome dude, yogi, with like a bun, minimal clothing. He's a minimalist. He really doesn't care about luxury. He goes to the mountains like in Tibet and he meditates for like years, And then he's got his own tribe called Ganas, They're all like fellow hippies. You can take the Burning Man, the Bhakti Fest, the yogis, the people who come to our retreats. We're all Ganas, Ganas means, group. But it's a little deeper meaning. It's a group who kind of withdraw from the traditional norms of society. We're supposed to behave a certain way, look a certain way. We're all different. You looked at Kurt like a year and a half ago, his beard was this big. And, if you still shared with me, Kurt, you would walk around barefoot to different establishments. And I believe Home Depot banned you because they didn't want you walking barefoot with nails, and it's understandable, right?
Yeah.
So that was Kurt, he was a Ghana. You still are a Ghana. We're all different, So Shiva had his own tribe, his flock, Ganas, and they would kind of hang around him. He would just meditate. They didn't want anything from him. Neither did he want. They just hung around for hanging around sake. There's just a camaraderie, you know. And then he has another son, which is Ganesh's brother, called Skanda or Murugan. And there's a whole separate story on how he got created. He also didn't come from Parvati. He actually had 6 mothers. I'll get into that later, because I feel we're getting started. I don't want to get sidetracked too much. Yeah. So Murugan is on his peacock. That's Ganesh's older brother. So he also hangs around Shiva. And Murugan is like the god of war. War. You know, he kills many demons. He was created to kill a major demon called Taraka. So Murugan is almost like, or Skanda is like a leader of an army. He has that fierceness. And many swamis in ashrams love Murugan because, you know, for celibacy, he gives you the strength. You know, you want to be celibate, Enzo, you work with Murugan, right? Okay.
No, I'm sorry, is a question?
No, I'm asking you, I'm telling you. You have a choice. This whole thing is like a buffet. There are so many gods. You can choose who you connect with. So I'm just saying, if you want to be celibate, you work with Skanda, Murugan. But if you want to not be celibate, then you can work with most gods and goddesses. Okay, you prefer the latter? And if you want to change your gender, I can also suggest a god for you. Like Ganesh is like liminal, you know. We'll get into liminality. Gender change is a very powerful concept. In the Hindu tradition, there were a lot of transgenders way back. So Murugan is another character in the story, and these Ganas and Shivas out there meditating, and his wife Parvati or Shakti. Shakti means power, right? I have a Parvati statue there. She's very good looking. It's the creative power of consciousness. Shakti means creative power. And you know, she's saying Shiva has all these Ganas, his flock, his posse. He's got Murugan, and Shiva has another vehicle called Nandi, the bull. And she feels lonely, you know, and she's by herself in a big house in Rancho Santa Fe. You know, I've been such a big house, it's like it scares me. When you live in I've been to a 6-bedroom house worth $10 million, big estate, and there's one person living there. I got depressed by just going there. It's like there's no, you know, does that make sense? And then I go to India, there's probably like 100 people living in this small area. But people are happy. You know, there's an energy. So where does the energy come from? Not the house. It's from us, right? So she feels lonely and in a big house, big mansion. So she literally taking a bath, she creates from her, like, you know, in those days they used like mud, and she used the mud and part of her skin to create a boy. So this is a new technology called CRISPR technology. Are you familiar with CRISPR? You like that? Gene editing? Yeah. So CRISPR is, so Ganesh can be called a CRISPR baby. Yeah. So CRISPR is, you can create Enzo with like no ill health and full muscles, right? Yeah. And CRISPR technology, they can remove the AIDS gene. Somebody in China did that. I mean, you're playing God. It's so easy to do. Any biochemist in a lab with minimal, just Google, you can create with CRISPR technology, right? Gene editing. I'm into all that too, Peter. So she creates this boy from the mud and the folds of her skin, and she blows breath into it. That's like prana. Guess what? You can do it with a murti. You can do it with a statue where when you can energize a statue with mantras. That's what priests do. It's called what is called prana pratishtha. Through mantras, they can enliven a murti. Okay, this is the ritualistic part of Hinduism. We don't get into it, Jyoti and I, because that's where the priest comes in. There's a role for the priest. We prefer the devotion. But you can energize a statue, and that's what Parvati did. She emitted some mantras and prana and made the boy life, gave the boy life. We can do it with mantras. So there's a mantra box playing in our temple if you've been to a temple for like 15 years. So the statues can get energized with mantras. And it's there in many traditions. The creating from dust, like Yahweh did that to Jesus in Bible. And there's a whole, in many mythologies, there's this creation from dust by God to a son of God or a daughter of God. Take your pick. So that's what she created, a boy, and then she had a good time with the boy, let the boy grow up, and kind of fed him a lot of comfort foods, like my mom did. Hi mom, I sent you the link, and I promised my mom that I'm going to crack some jokes, but I had a rule. If she laughs at any of my jokes, I will not say that joke. And my daughter said it's very mean. So I did say this joke, and my mom didn't laugh, so that's why I'm saying this joke. Hi mom. She's watching from Mumbai, and mom has a big Ganesh. She has a Ganesh as big as this in a little flat in Mumbai. Just her and Ganesh living in a little Mumbai flat. It's fantastic. People love, they all like, she sent me a WhatsApp picture where they all bow to Ganesh. So Ganapati is like one big party. Gana party, right? So, where was I?
Just breath, breathe life.
Yeah, breathes life into the boy, feeds the boy, comfort food. Like my mom fed me like from the age of 6. That's my belly, right? And that's how Ganesh was fed, comfort food, and so he is a nice rounded belly, a lot of carbs. And then she also gave the boy power. Remember, her name is Shakti. And she told the boy to guard the entrance of a bathroom. That's it. Make sure nobody kind of disturbs her. Because Shiva has this tendency, he doesn't have too much like graces, civilized graces. He would just come after his long meditation with his ganas, his posse, and he'd just kind of barge into the bathroom, bother her. So she has a boy for company, she has the boy to guard the bathroom, and then Shiva now finishes meditation, and all his ganas, all his weird tribe, right, comes over the hill, and then he's got Murugan, the brother, also. Yeah, the peacock, on the peacock, Skanda. And Murugan is big in Celtic mythology. Look at Murugan, the Knights of the Templars. I know a guy who takes trips to that area of the world, Celtic mythology, to talk about Murugan. They have linked it right. The Murugan is big. I'm going to geek out big into Murugan next. So they all go into the house and create a scene. It's like a bunch of like bachelors, having, and Shiva's almost like a bachelor, right? And then Shiva tries to enter the bathroom like usual, and he sees the boy who's guarding, loyal boy. And Shiva tells the boy, hey, that's my wife. Boy says, show me the ID. Show me some proof. Shiva says, hey, I'm God. Boy says, I don't care. These days it's like, you heard the latest case where the Jack Dorsey, the Twitter CEO, got identity stolen. It's called SIM card swapping. It's big. It's very dangerous in today's times. They can assume your identity. That's what Ganesh said. Hey, how do I know you're God? It could be SIM card swapping, because you can hack. People can hack your Instagram, Twitter based on SIM cards. It's a whole technology behind it. So the idea is Shiva gets frustrated. Then he tells his posse, calls, they're all having a good time all over the house, gorging themselves on food. He tells them to attack Ganesh, starting with Murugan on a peacock who comes. And Murugan looks at Ganesh, tries to nudge him. He's a general, can't nudge him. Because Ganesh has the power, Shakti. The Ganas attack him, still. He's like, fights back now. And all the Ganas are being thrown here and there, major like jujutsu going on, right? There you go. And then Shiva gets really mad. And he has a trishul, a trident. I have a big trident in the back.
He's got one in that statue.
There you go. That's a trident, right? That's Shiva's trident. Okay? Good eyes. He takes the trident and beheads Ganesh. And the trident represents like the three states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Or it can represent a body, mind, intellect. Or the trident can represent what in Vedanta is called Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam: listening, contemplation, abiding. These are all like metaphors. For instance, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, which is the essence of Vedanta Jyoti teaches, is the years of Ganesh is Shravanam, listening. You listen. Don't think of what to say. Right? We got a massive trident, and Kurt kind of looks like Shiva with a beard. That's a trident. That's very heavy, Enzo. It's about 50 pounds. So there's the three prongs, right? It can be like the years of Ganesh is Shravanam. Mananam is contemplation, the big head. Nididhyasanam is your abiding in the self. That's the trunk of Ganesh, pointing to the sweet. You see the sweet? Right here? That's the trunk. So the sweet is not only the self in you, the self in everyone. So when you engage with someone, like the guy in the well-dressed suit who met me in the Colonial Hotel in Manchester, Vermont, can I engage with him and look at the sweet within? So you can reinterpret it, the whole Shravana, Mananam, Nididhyasanam through Ganesh. Does that make sense? Please look at my live stream. Did the speaker, I kind of moved the thing. Is that okay, my sound? Okay. Please yell if the sound is not good. Peter, can you hold this? And then pass it to Enzo. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. So Shiva beheads the boy. Okay. In trident, there's a in Roman mythology, there's a trident. Remember that? There's a whole trident.
Oh yeah,
Neptune. So there are a lot of similarities. So now you have the boy that's lying down, the blood like squirting. This is like and then Shiva's wife Shakti comes out and says, "Hey, what have you done? That's my boy, our boy, And forget bathroom visit, no more bedroom visit. Furthermore, I'm going to be Kali now. Because Kali is Shakti, Shiva's wife. I'm going to start drinking the blood of all your Ganas. I want revenge." And Shiva, like men, like husbands, me included, we make a mess, right? We mess up. And then we say, what to do, right? So Shiva now has to make amends, right? It's like anyone in the 12-step process know the step to make amends? There's a whole step. I think it's step make amends. One is to, it's a way down to make amends. That's a big one. And people get stuck in that 12th step right there. When you have to really ask for forgiveness, you have to make amends. So Shiva is trying to make amends. He told his Ganas, "Come, let's go." And they all go to the forest. And at that time, an elephant knew what is happening. That elephant's name is Airavata. He literally surrendered his head. He said, "I'm an old elephant, just take my head." And his head was pointed to the north. North is the spiritual direction. And Shiva chopped the head again. And then he grabbed the head with the Ganas and is almost like holding the football. running back, touchdown, right? And then he puts the head on Ganesh, the elephant head. And then Parvati does a magic again, breathing life. And then the boy becomes Ganesh. And Shiva says, okay, I'm going to go one step more. You are the head of my Ganas now, not me. So Ganesha becomes the head of Ganas. But it's not just Shiva's Ganas, it's Ganas the world over. So Ganesh is the patron saint of the New England Patriots. That's another Gana. He's the patron saint of like yogis. He's a patron saint everywhere. China, you go to Vietnam, France, there's a museum of Ganesh. Thailand, there's a museum of Ganesh. People love Ganesh. He's become patron saint for good luck. And before people embark on any activity, they worship Ganesh. And the main reason is, that's another condition laid down by Shiva. He said before people worship any deity, they worship Ganesh. Because, he kind of looks different, right? A guy with an elephant head. Whereas Shiva and Parvati look normal, right? And what is normal? The question can be asked, right? What if we are living in their world? Because the original shamans, the oldest temple was found in Turkey, which is so far back, like we consider like Egyptian, like Sphinx ancient. The Egyptian consider this temple found in Turkey ancient. I'm talking about like 10,000 BC. That old temple had shamans with animal heads. So in those days, there's a pattern in our subconscious. Look it up, it's in Turkey, that people with animal heads are highest in the spiritual realm. Shamans are not only spiritual leaders, but the healers. So Ganesh is a healer. He's the original shaman. And Ganesh is also liminality. So in psychotherapy, there's this whole concept of liminality, half-half. Like when you wake up from a dream, you're like subliminal. So subliminal messaging, the neuro-linguistic programming is done in that state of liminality. Hypnosis is like, it brings you to liminality where auto-suggestions are put in, You're very susceptible for transformation in liminal stages. So Ganesh and Hanuman are liminal deities. And like in Mahabharata, the war, it's an 18-day war. It got changed on the 9th day because of liminality. So Bhishma was the side of Kauravas. He couldn't be killed because of a boon he got that no man could kill him. No man or a woman. And what Krishna did is, Krishna is a little, he bends the rules. Krishna is called Leela Purushottam Avatar, which means he views the world as a Leela to be, like looked upon as the end justifies the means. So he tells, a character called Shikhandi in the Mahabharata to stand in front of Bhishma. And Shikhandi is like a woman on top, man at the bottom. That's the transgender. And then Bhishma, she thinks it's a woman and gets paralyzed. And then throws his weapon down, and Krishna instructs Arjuna to go behind and shoots the arrow. That's not really ethical, okay? But it's like bending the rules. The end justifies the mean. So this liminality is powerful. It changed the whole war. Shikhandi changed the whole. Similarly, the Mahabharata within us can be changed through this liminality, okay? So Ganesh is a liminal entity. That's my point, okay? Now, you have this boy created. He's Ganesh. Everyone worships him. I'm carrying on the story. What are we at with time?
Been on for about an hour.
Okay. Now I'm asking people on YouTube, is it okay to keep going? Okay. I'm not going to hear anything, so I'm assuming it's okay. Yeah. I'm a storyteller. What to do? I'm just getting started. So the boy is now growing up, and he and his brother, remember, Skanda or Murugan, on the peacock, have a nice time. And now they all want a fruit of wisdom that Shiva and Shakti have. And there's another story, but Ganesh has an elephant head for a big reason, because he's wisdom. See, I talked about in the first live stream Krishna's birth, which is Janmashtami. This literally happened 3 weeks ago. You were there, Peter? Or maybe not. You were there. So that was Krishna's birth. Exactly 11 days after that is Ganesh's birth. So Krishna's birth is on like midnight. That shows like the birth of consciousness. And then exactly 11 days later, on the 4th day of the lunar month called Shravanam, Ganesh is born. And that's the birth of wisdom. So in our spiritual journey, we decide this world of materialism doesn't cut it. Then we have a birth of consciousness. That's Krishna. He was born at midnight. So the darkness, just like Jesus was born 3 days after the darkest night of the year, same, after December 22. And then Ganesh comes in, but the whole metaphor of the elephant head of Ganesh is wisdom. So Ganesh represents the great saying in the Vedas, Aham Brahmasmi. Aham means I. Brahmas means I am consciousness. So elephant head is infinite, like nature of consciousness. I am as I. So Ganesh is the wise one, is wisdom. Does that make sense? So now you have the two boys growing up, and they have the fruit of knowledge, Shiva and Shakti, and they both want it. Now you can ask a question, why didn't like Shiva slice the fruit of knowledge? No, it doesn't work that way. Moksha or knowledge is not half-assed. You can't get half. In other words, you have to work on your moksha. I have to work on my moksha. I can't like, no, I can't. It doesn't work that way. That's why in this tradition, we have to apply bhakti to others, devotion to others, and jnana to ourselves. That means the wisdom and knowledge has to be applied within us, and devotion has to be given to other people. Whereas most people love to give advice, they love to give jnana to other people and devotion to themselves. That's narcissism, right? Telling people what to do, right? No, in this tradition is not half-assed. The knowledge has to be related awakening. So the sweet, the fruit of knowledge was offered by Shiva with a caveat that whoever goes around the world and finds out everything gets that sweet. So immediately Murugan jumps on a peacock and goes through every nook and corner. And that is the approach of, like a materialist, a scientist who investigates the world, tries to know everything. And as you know, there's no end to it, right? There's no end to science. There's always something new, a new research paper, a new grant, etc. Whereas Ganesh, he's got a big fat belly. He's on a mouse. Mouse is not built for long distance travel. And mouse also is too much weight on the mouse. But Ganesh has the wisdom. He goes around his parents, right? Shiva and Shakti. And Shiva gets him the prize and gives it to him. And Ganesh's brother, Skanda or Murugan, comes huffing and puffing and said, I went around the world, what happened? And Shiva explains, hey, the real wisdom is knowing who you are, which is Shiva, Shiva's consciousness, and knowing everything around consciousness, which is the body, mind, and the world. And that is represented by Shakti, right? So I'm going to draw a diagram to illustrate that, right? So Shiva is the upward pointing triangle, which is the I am. It's always there, right? Never changes. And then Shakti is everything that changes. The body, the mind, the world. That's the downward triangle. When you know Shiva Shakti, and one day we will do a whole workshop on all the 6, this is a deep symbol in many traditions, right? The star. You know everything. That's the wisdom of Ganesh. Okay. Now, there's another wisdom of Ganesh. This relates to a logo, which is really Ganesh and Om. Okay. There's a whole text behind that called Ganapati Atharva Shirsha. Okay. There's a whole, I teach a 3-day workshop. I should teach it a long time ago, which connects Ganesh to Om. And that is our logo right there. It's a logo on our Patreon videos, our YouTube videos. Did you spontaneously come with that, Kurt, or that logo?
No, I guess it needed to be done. It just seemed like it would fit. It balanced out the space.
Also, philosophically, Ganesh is the form.
Yes, and it was form and formless.
And Om is the formless, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the word comes from the sound. Om. Om. It's like guttural. And it actually is 3, right? A-U-M. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And then this gap is the silence. I'm going too fast, but it's okay. People on YouTube can understand. And then you have another Om, right? Same here. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And this is the I am, this is Maya, right? So, this is Ganesh. This is like Ganesh's belly. That's his head. That's his trunk. So for instance, I'm going sideways to that camera. You have my belly. I have my head. If I move my trunk like that, that's Om. I'm Ganesh and Om. But to do that, you should have a belly. Yeah? There's another way to interpret that. Another Devanagari way of writing Om. This is a little more complicated, but Om in Devanagari. So Sanskrit is a spoken language. It's not written, but Devanagari is the closest. So this is Om. And here's where it gets complicated. If I tilt this board and I put a couple dots here, it literally looks like Ganesh with the mouse, the lower half, the trunk. But I want to go philosophical because my drawing sucks. In my first semester of engineering drawing, I got a D grade. I was horrible in drawing. So let's erase this, okay? There's another way to look at Ganesh and Om. The trunk of Ganesh, the lower part, is the waking state. Because remember I said this is waking, dreaming, deep sleep, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. So the lower part of trunk is waking, the middle part of the trunk is deep sleep, is dreaming, because we can carry, elephant carries 5 logs, we can carry 5 logs in a dream. So you're waking, which is sensitive, right? The elephant can pick that little thing with the trunk, then it's strong, then deep sleep is the big head. So Ganesh is, the primordial sound of Om. That's why your logo is right on. So if you watch our videos, our intro is Ganesh and Om, right? And at the end of the video, remind me, Kurt, I want to sort of help people on how do you, use some of these teachings on Patreon to help you in your spiritual journey. I feel there's a lot of stuff out there, but I think it's good to pause and let people know how to use it, and maybe organize it. Let's talk about some future plans. And hopefully the future will become the present when we execute the plans. Coming to the story. It's my last story, I promise. So the 2 boys are still growing up, right? Remember, Ganesh now has the sweet. And there's another story where Skanda Murugan gets pissed off and goes up the mountain. So now it's only Ganesh. And I've actually been to that mountain. It's a popular pilgrimage spot in India. So now Ganesh is like full grown, big eater. He's got the wisdom, he's got the mouse. He goes to a big party, and it was like a Thanksgiving feast. So he eats a lot of food, and then he wants more for the next day. So he does a doggy bag. So he actually has like a pouch, like a kangaroo pouch in his belly. So Ganesh overflows that pouch with a lot of extra sweets. And then he rides on the mouse back home. And he had eaten so much. And then the sweets was so much, the mouse couldn't handle it. And on a turn, Ganesh fell out to the side. He literally fell on the ground. That's because on that turn, the mouse saw a cobra. And the mouse gets startled. That plus the weight. I've actually been in an auto rickshaw in Mumbai, my sister actually, where the rickshaw overturned. It's very common, You got to watch it. In Mumbai, there's no like safeguards in India. There's no life, in the beach. There's no lifeguard, stuff like that. The boats don't have a safety harness. You have to be responsible. I kind of like that. Does that make sense? You're not tuned out. You're aware. So Ganesh falls down and he's very quick-witted. Remember, Ganesh is about the flow state. So he gathers all the sweets back up, and to repeat this incident, he grabs the cobra, he tames the cobra. So the metaphor is Ganesh tames the kundalini. See, the kundalini, when it goes up, it can whack you out. So you work with Ganesh to ground you, to tame the kundalini. And he makes the cobra a belt so that the sweets won't fall out. Right? So that's the belt around Ganesh, the cobra. Right? And then Ganesh goes back on the mouse and they're chugging. Now mouse is smart too. Right? Mouse has lowered the speed now. It's a autonomous now vehicle. Right? Uber autonomous or Waymo. Right? Robot taxi. That's a new thing. Right? Robot taxis are coming. It's called level 5 automation. Level 4 is you can drive. Level 5 is any weather condition. It's fascinating. So China has built a whole city the size of Chicago for autonomous vehicles. Underneath is autonomous vehicles where the light conditions are the same. Or it's like you have different life conditions, so you have real people driving. They're not mixing people with autonomous. People still have passions, anger. People are getting pissed off at autonomous, Okay, coming to the story now. Ganesh is back on the mouse doing the autonomous driving, and suddenly he hears a big laugh from the heavens. And he looks up, and it was the moon laughing. Because the moon, on full moon, it was full moon night, he witnessed the whole thing. And, you feel disrespected. Ganesh is an honorable man. So what he does is he breaks his tusk, and he throws it at the moon. And he whacks the moon, And coincidentally, today, India, I don't know if you're familiar, they sent a moon rover called Chandrayaan 2. This is the second attempt. And unfortunately, it failed, but it's a partial failure. They came to the moon near the South Pole. Nobody's done that. The South Pole is the coldest part, minus 260 degrees. And there's water there in ice. And this is like the early part of the solar system. That's why they're going there. The landing rover went close to the moon and then no communications. It might be alive, it may not, but the spacecraft is still alive. So today India did the moon shot, but India will sooner or later go there because there's so much technology progress in India right now. So Ganesh, he hits the moon. Because it's Ganesh. Maybe in the NASA of India called ISRO, they should have chanted to Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, but it's all a secular organization. So he hits the moon gets whacked, and then moon loses its juice, so it becomes dark. And when the world becomes dark, it becomes night of the living dead. The crazies come out, the robbers, stuff like that. So all the gods went to Ganesh and said, hey, please forgive the moon, So Ganesh then forgave. So, one has to forgive. If you don't forgive people who have insulted you in your life, it's like you're holding the resentment. You're drinking the poison and expecting the other person to suffer. No, we have to, let it go. Okay. So Ganesh forgave the moon with one caveat that only on one day you will be at your brightest, and only on one day you will be at your darkest, Rest of the time you'll wax and wane. So that's one story of the broken tusk. The other story is he wrote the Mahabharata, right? I talked about that, from where the Bhagavad Gita came. There's a third story where Parashurama, he allows Parashurama to whack him, but I'm not going to go there. That's another story. What I would love to do is, these stories are like metaphors. There's a, mythology, like Joseph Campbell. He said these stories, myths are lies that exposes greater truths about ourselves. So in this storytelling, I try to slip in some truths, but the truth is subjective. So before, mythology used to be looked down upon. But somewhere in the 70s, with the advent of postmodernism and Foucault and other French scholars, mythology is viewed as a subjective truth. You can interpret it the way that works for you in your life. And what I will tell you from experience is, when you work with archetypes, starting with Ganesh or any archetype, Lakshmi, Shiva, Hanuman, Saraswati, whoever calls to you, it is a very powerful journey. Because these are the original memes. These are the wisdom of millions and millions of people. Guess what? How many people have lived on earth so far, Kurt? How many people have died from beginning? Any guesses? Right now.
Every single one of them.
That's a good answer. It's like saying how much did Rockefeller leave behind? All of it.
Yeah.
The answer is 108 billion people have died. Isn't that amazing? 108. Are you trying to think, is it billion or million? Because I'm starting to think too. Billion. 108 billion people have died as of today. It's interesting data. What we would like to do is get 108 different patrons, okay, to a community. We're in no hurry. It'll happen, and ideally I want 1008, because the whole objective is not only to pay for all this equipment, is to pay Kurt. I'm not really paying him. This whole endeavor is coming from Kurt sees, in my opinion, a greater goodness. Come on up, Kurt, and tell us why are you doing this.
Let me change the camera.
And then I would like to steer the discussion towards how do you use Patreon, the whole Patreon video thing.
I think that there's a need. I think that there's a need for people, you talk about it all the time, that attention is the new currency. And I think that there's a need for people's attention to be focused a lot less on political partyism, diet and nutritionism, all of the isms that are out there, right? And to start really looking at themselves as the things, like you said, with the Carl Jung quote, right? We all think we're sane, right? We all want to go ahead and never admit to ourselves that we might have some issues that we need to work on. And it's really difficult to identify and work on our issues when we're so distracted by all the other stuff that's out there, all the shiny, pretty, exciting drama that's going on. And so I think that there's a need for something like this, so that people have a place to retreat to, and have, what I always envisioned was that we would build this community like we have tonight on the live stream. There's not a lot of people there right now, but those people are saying hello to each other, and they can chat with each other right there from across, right now, the United States, but from around the globe, right? They can ask questions of each other while you're talking. I could be there to moderate, to go ahead and make this like we're all here together when we're just in our own living rooms or wherever.
And people can watch they are watching the recordings later.
And then they can watch them at any time. So when you're stuck in traffic, rather than getting road rage, you can listen to Jyoti sing songs, and you can listen to her talk about the self, right? And then rather than get cut off and get upset or be bored because you're in traffic or whatever, we can listen to some story about Ganesh for an hour, right? And take up that time. And so our attention isn't the news. It's not the pundits. It's not, the new pop song, which, again, doesn't do anything to really heal our soul.
Right.
It's just a distraction. And I like the distractions, too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I get distracted by all this stuff, too. But to give an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, whatever, to just
Yeah.
think differently, and then hopefully then be, with a capital B, be differently, start to behave differently, start to act differently, start to treat the person who cut you off as, I've cut off the person behind me every time, right? Like, there's got to be somebody that's behind me that's like, you son of a, you cut me off, and I'm sitting there going, I just needed to get over, right? Like, this was the only chance I had, but it's really difficult for us to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. We're just so stuck in the meism right now.
And also to, manage all kinds of, we don't need to react. We can respond appropriately, more skillfully, using these teachings. But it's also these teachings, in my opinion, like there's a greater depth. Like Jyoti puts out really long videos, long meditations, because it's not an Instagram 1 minute video. And she goes through, and we're not like trying to be Instagram influencers. No, she goes through. Very few people do it they only do it in ashrams. She goes through the Sanskrit words, and she's a scholar to interpret it in the light of non-dual philosophy, and more importantly about practicing. So you mentioned doing it 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. So we have a saying, the consistency is better than intensity, right? So far we've been doing this for 18 years. I do this retreats, workshops. I get into intensity for a couple days and then I leave. And then what next, So this is a way for our community to do small things in a consistent way, and we inspire each other, as you said. And it doesn't have to stop during a live stream. You can continue with your comments, right, on Patreon?
Yeah, that's one place, but we're evolving constantly. I mean, this has been something that we're winging it. I have no idea what I'm doing from day to day, because he goes ahead and throws something at me that says, I want to do this. And then I go, okay, I'll try to figure out how we're going to make that happen.
Yes.
And so, when it comes to things like Patreon, we're already realizing the limitations of the posting and how distracting that could be for people. So we're trying to figure out now how we can move it to another platform.
So just to be specific, the limitation of Patreon, I think, is when we post a video today and post another one tomorrow, it's like text messaging. It keeps going back.
It keeps getting hidden and goes down.
And somebody like Bob and Joe, who just joined today, they're finding like 35 posts, videos, and not organized well.
Yeah.
That's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. But see, we didn't know that when we started it, right? We were just, going, okay, how can we go ahead and get this to people, right? And try, and again, there's another concept behind the whole Patreon thing, which is, if it's free, you don't appreciate it. I'm sorry, everybody out there who's listening to this, but if it's free, our human mind has a very significant tendency to just discount it, right? So when you're able to contribute something to it, it has more meaning, more significance.
Right.
And so we chose an amount which was just a numerological amount. It's the 1080, right? It's the 108. It's the Ganesh amount. So that subconsciously you're doing something intentionally of, I'm giving this $10.80 a month, this 108 number, right, to have access to this. I'm grateful that you're saying you want to make it so that I have some money coming in. But we just spent $5,000 on a laptop. He spent $5,000 on a laptop.
Well, you bought all these more things.
Just so we could get these videos out, because my little computer that I had was so backlogged. I have like literally 30 videos that I can't. It takes me like 6 hours to make one 1 hour video, because of how the software runs and how the upload speeds do all that stuff, right? So we're finding that we can't get the stuff out. And so we're having to contribute to that, right? So there's so much more than just, going to us. Is we've got to try to make it so that our vision is there, right? That's what this is about, is to make it so that we can actually have the resources to say, we want to reach all these people. We want it to look really, really nice.
And Kurt is big and looking nice. I mean, I feel you have that. You create beauty. You want to be like almost perfectionist. Can you always get better? But you did the drawing on your birthday. You did this big thing. You actually drew this, But I'm grateful, because over the years, and you all have and are continuing to support me with murtis. And $10.80 is like a gas price for 1 day's driving in LA, or like a couple of Starbucks, Enzo. $10.80.
I go home, I'm a coffee, I tell my
Okay.
You're my name incorrectly and then
Good. Good. I like that. You like Lavazza? That's an Italian chain. Yeah, Lavazza is the best. So do Lavazza instead of Starbucks. Lavazza. Prego. Prego. Um, so what we want to do is we want this Patreon. I think is working. It's gotten spiritual traction. We want to organize the videos so people into different categories. Right?
Yeah, so there's going to be, I've just started looking in today into Vimeo, which is, it's a login type of a system that works with Patreon. It automatically links. It works with the software that we're using right now to go ahead and do the streaming, so that way I can start to organize all these things into, here's our Friday night live streams. I can then duplicate those videos, hopefully, I believe, and say, here's all the ones on Ganesh, here's all the ones on Lakshmi, here's all the ones on whatever, and I can start to create these playlists for people so that they can have access to the information that they want quickly, rather than having to scroll.
And rather than Tattva Bodha number 4, you will have actual, I want people to know before they click on the video, like a few words on what it is. Keywords, yes. We're getting there, it's all coming together, I think, the way it's supposed to, right?
Yeah, it's literally just a daily, how can I get a little bit better every day? And that to me is the work, right? Is how can we just improve ourselves a little bit better every day? Every time we wake up, if we're graced to do that, how can I be just a little bit better than I was the day before?
It is a lot of work, but I think we're having fun.
Exactly.
And if you want to kind of have fun with us, you are by watching these videos. But if you have expertise in any of these fields, especially social media, I've not done a single Facebook posting in my life. So talk to Kurt if you have any expertise.
I've
or
done
YouTube.
Facebook postings, but I did my first one in like 2 years today when I was posting Janita's her song.
But we could use help, we could use help in this whole digital ashram. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. We've already recorded a filming interview I've done with Jyoti.
Yeah.
I think that was interesting. We've done a interview where you and I put out Arjuna hats and asked questions to Jyoti. That was fun. Yeah. So when Vedanta is taught interactively, that's a ton of fun. Jyoti has some ideas on songs, meanings, chanting. She will put out meditation videos, even possibly one on cooking, Indian cuisine, the 5 tastes.
We might as well go ahead and bring it out now too, for the people that are listening or who might be listening later, that we want to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
1,008.
Well, 1,008 is your number, but YouTube has a number of 1,000.
Oh,
the reason for that is because we tried to live stream here. We tried to do a test, right, a couple of days ago from your mobile, so that when we're at Bhakti Fest or we're in Wisconsin, we could actually do a live stream from there. But YouTube now has a thing that says you have to have 1,000 subscribers before they're going to allow you to live stream from a mobile device. So if anybody listening can start to just share the YouTube channel with the friends in their yoga studios or whatever, just say, just subscribe. Just go. You don't have to watch a dang thing, right? If it's not your
just
thing.
Hit subscribe.
But just hit the subscribe.
And the YouTube channel is Murthy's and Vedanta.
Yeah, Murthy's and Vedanta. And the only reason for that, again, it's not trying to be selfish, but it's trying to make it so that because this used to not be a thing. You used to be able to just get on your phone, right, and do a live stream. But now with all of the censorship stuff and all of they don't want certain people going out there and throwing stuff out there, they've had to change their rules and just recently changed it to you got to have 1,000 subscribers.
And you think I have to sanitize my jokes because YouTube is starting to kick people out?
I don't know. I don't know.
That will have to be.
There's a lot of crazy stuff out there that I don't know if their algorithms pick up on that stuff.
That's right. Also, I was going to say travel schedule next week. I'm pretty much traveling from next Wednesday until like December.
2020.
It's a lot. I want to reduce it, hopefully, do more events here. But we will try to stream wherever I am. Kurt is accompanying me most of the time with the cameras, equipment. So few festivals, teacher trainings, workshops, wherever we are, East Coast, Colorado. We'll try to bring out the recordings. Jyoti's teachings will continue. The videos on Tattva Bodha and Bhagavad Gita. To me, that is a core of the philosophy. And with these stories, I think the form and the formless go close together. Do you have any other things we may have missed? So that's the schedule. There may not be a live streaming next Friday, but we'll see.
Yeah, if we have, right now, since we don't have the subscribers, if we have Wi-Fi, we'll be live streaming.
Yes.
If we don't have like
From Wisconsin.
from Wisconsin, even from 29 Palms, if we were somehow able to get it, at Bhakti Fest, we would still be able to live stream. But we have to have the access to Wi-Fi, and since we don't have the 1,000 subscribers, if we don't have it, well, no, more than likely you're going to have me recording something, and we'll just be
Yes.
uploading it when we have the time.
Okay. Grateful for people here. Grateful for all of you. Grateful to Warwick. Jai Ganesh.
Jai Ganesh.